So nearly 80% of Americans now view fast food as a luxury due to rising menu prices, with 62% eating less often because it's increased costs. According to a Lending Tree survey, the perception of fast food as a luxury is particularly strong amongst those making less than $30,000 a year. 71% of people fall in that category. Parents with young children, that's 58%. Gen Z's 58%, and women 53%. Menu prices at major chains like McDonald's, Chipotle, Taco Bell have risen significantly since 2014, outpacing inflation. In response to slowing sales, McDonald's and Wendy's are introducing cheaper meal options such as $5 value meal and a $3 breakfast deal.
In today's world, where even a simple fast food meal is becoming a luxury, we are witnessing a troubling shift that signals deeper economic issues. What was once an easy and affordable choice is now a financial stretch for many, highlighting how far-reaching the crisis has become. This isn't just about the rising cost of a burger. It's a clear indication that our economy is in serious trouble, with every aspect of daily life being affected. As we explore these alarming trends, it becomes evident that the economic pressures we face, escalating living costs, and a precarious housing market are converging into a perfect storm that could threaten the financial stability of millions. Patrick Bet-David and other experts have been sounding the alarm, urging us to prepare for a potential crisis of unprecedented scale. This is not the time to sit back and hope for the best. It's time to act and safeguard your future. If you find value in what we're discussing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on the critical information you need to navigate these uncertain times. And whatever you do, make sure you watch till the end. You won't want to miss a single detail of what's coming next. This is information you can't afford to overlook. Current state of the economy. The housing market crisis. Imagine being on the verge of buying your first home, only to be told that the interest rate on your mortgage will be nearly double what it would have been just a few years ago. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It's the reality facing millions of Americans today. The housing market, once a cornerstone of the American dream, has become an obstacle course where only the most financially stable can navigate successfully. Since the pandemic, the housing market has been on a roller coaster, with home values skyrocketing over 50%, while wages have only inched up by about 18%. This disconnect has created a perfect storm, a massive affordability crisis that has left many would-be homeowners stuck on the sidelines, watching as their dreams slip further out of reach. The average home price in the U.S. has climbed to $362,481, and with mortgage rates hovering around 6.85% to 7%, the cost of homeownership is simply too high for many. But the crisis goes beyond just high prices and rates. The supply of homes on the market is alarmingly low, with estimates suggesting the U.S. is short by about 4.5 million homes. This shortage isn't just a blip, it's a chronic issue exacerbated by years of underbuilding and current homeowners who are reluctant to sell due to their locked-in low mortgage rates. As a result, even as some hope for mortgage rates to drop, the lack of available homes means that prices are likely to remain stubbornly high. So, what does this mean for the average person? It means that the dream of owning a home is becoming more elusive, with many potential buyers forced to either stay in the rental market or delay homeownership indefinitely. And as the housing market continues to tighten, the ripple effects are felt across the entire economy, further squeezing those who are already struggling. Inflation and its unyielding grip. Picture this. You walk into your favorite fast food joint, craving a quick bite, only to find that your usual meal has jumped in price. Again, what used to be a cheap and easy option has now become something you think twice about before purchasing. This is inflation in action, and it's not just happening at the drive-thru, it's everywhere. Inflation, which peaked at a staggering 9.1% in 2022, has since slowed, but its effects are still rippling through the economy. Everyday items, from groceries to gasoline, have seen price hikes that outpace wage growth, leaving many people struggling to make ends meet. The Consumer Price Index, which tracks changes in the cost of living, still shows significant increases in key areas, meaning that the cost of living remains high despite efforts to cool inflation. What's even more concerning is how inflation has hit the housing market. As mortgage rates rose in response to the Federal Reserve's efforts to combat inflation, the cost of borrowing has surged, making it even harder for people to afford homes. This creates a vicious cycle. High inflation leads to high rates, which in turn lead to higher costs across the board, from mortgages to everyday expenses. And while some relief might be on the horizon as inflation cools, the damage has already been done. Federal Reserve policies and their consequences. The ripple effect of interest rate hikes. Imagine this, it's early 2022 and inflation is soaring to levels not seen in decades. Prices for everything from groceries to gas are skyrocketing and people are feeling the pinch in their wallets. In response, the Federal Reserve steps in with a familiar tool, raising interest rates. This move is meant to cool down the economy by making borrowing more expensive, thereby reducing spending and, ideally, bringing down inflation. But as with any powerful tool, its effects can be far-reaching and, in some cases, unintended. When the Fed started raising interest rates, the immediate impact was on mortgage rates, which climbed to their highest levels in over 20 years. That buying a home became significantly more expensive, with monthly mortgage payments skyrocketing overnight. But the effects didn't stop there. As borrowing costs increased, businesses also faced higher expenses for loans, leading to slower growth, reduced hiring, and, in some cases, layoffs. The very measure intended to stabilize the economy began to strain it in other ways, particularly for those already on the edge. The irony of the situation is that while the Fed's goal was to curb inflation and stabilize prices, the higher interest rates also slowed down economic activity, making it harder for the economy to grow. The result? A delicate balancing act where the Fed must decide between taming inflation and avoiding a recession. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of getting it wrong could be catastrophic for millions of Americans. But what happens when the Fed decides it's time to lower rates again? Could that be the silver bullet to solve our economic woes, or might it lead to even more complications? We'll explore that next. The potential pitfalls of lowering rates. Fast forward to the end of 2024, inflation has cooled down significantly, and there's growing pressure on the Fed to start cutting interest rates. Many people are hopeful that lower rates will make it easier to afford homes, take out loans, and generally boost economic activity. But before we get too optimistic, it's important to consider the potential pitfalls of such a move. Lowering interest rates might sound like a good idea, especially if you're looking to buy a home or refinance your mortgage. After all, lower rates mean lower monthly payments, right? But here's the catch. As soon as rates start to drop, the demand for homes is likely to surge. With so many people waiting on the sidelines for rates to fall, the sudden increase in demand could drive home prices even higher, offsetting the benefits of lower rates. In other words, while your mortgage might be cheaper, the home itself could become even more expensive. Moreover, lower rates could also encourage more borrowing, which might fuel inflation once again. This creates a potential feedback loop where the very thing that was meant to solve one problem ends up creating another. The Fed's challenge is to lower rates just enough to stimulate the economy without reigniting inflation, a task that is easier said than done. And as history has shown, even small miscalculations can lead to big consequences. The broader economic outlook. A looming recession or a slow recovery. Imagine for a moment you're back in the year 2008. The global economy is teetering on the brink of collapse. Financial institutions are crumbling, and millions of people are losing their jobs and homes. Fast forward to today, and while the specifics are different, there's a growing sense of déjà vu. Economists and analysts are increasingly concerned that the current economic conditions, a toxic mix of high inflation, soaring interest rates, and an overstretched housing market, could be setting the stage for another severe downturn. But are we really on the cusp of a recession, or is there a chance for a slow but steady recovery? The truth is, the future of the economy is hanging in a precarious balance. On one hand, the Federal Reserve's aggressive rate hikes have succeeded in cooling inflation, bringing it down from its 2022 peak. But this victory has come at a cost. The economy is slowing, and the housing market, as we've discussed, is under immense pressure. Many businesses are also feeling the strain, as higher borrowing costs have led to reduced investments and hiring slowdowns. The job market, which had been a bright spot during the pandemic recovery, is beginning to show signs of weakness, with layoffs in certain sectors becoming more frequent. However, it's not all doom and gloom. Some experts argue that the U.S. economy is resilient enough to weather these challenges without tipping into a full-blown recession. They point to the continued strength of consumer spending and the adaptability of businesses as reasons for cautious optimism. If the Federal Reserve can manage a delicate balancing act, lowering rates just enough to stimulate growth without reigniting inflation, there's a chance that we could see a period of slow recovery rather than a sharp downturn. But this is far from guaranteed, and the margin for error is razor thin. Vulnerable sectors and the ripple effects. Think about the industries that were hardest hit during the Great Recession: housing, finance, and manufacturing. These sectors took years to recover, and some never fully bounced back to their pre-crisis levels. Today, similar vulnerabilities are emerging in several key areas of the economy, and the ripple effects could be widespread. Take the housing market, for example. We've already discussed pressures of high mortgage rates and low inventory, but what happens if the economy slows further? Housing could experience a double whammy: fewer people able to buy homes, coupled with a drop in home values as demand dries up. This would not only hurt homeowners, but could also trigger a broader decline in consumer spending as people feel less wealthy and more inclined to save rather than spend. Another sector to watch is retail. Inflation has already squeezed consumers, leading to higher prices for everyday goods and services. If the economy continues to slow, we could see a reduction in consumer spending, particularly in non-essential categories like electronics, apparel, and luxury goods. Retailers, especially those without strong online presences or who cater to middle and lower income consumers, could be at risk of significant declines in sales. Then there's the financial sector. Higher interest rates have led to increased borrowing costs, not just for consumers, but also for businesses. Companies with high levels of debt, particularly in industries like real estate and energy, could find themselves struggling to meet their obligations if the economy slows further. This could lead to a rise in defaults, which would put additional strain on the banking system and potentially lead to tighter credit conditions across the board. But perhaps the biggest question is how these economic pressures will affect the job market. If businesses begin to cut back on hiring or lay off workers, unemployment could rise, leading to a further decline in consumer confidence and spending. This, in turn, could create a vicious cycle of economic contraction, where reduced spending leads to more layoffs, and the cycle repeats. It's a scenario that no one wants to see, but it's one that we must be prepared for. What you can do to protect yourself. Imagine it's the early 2000s and the dot-com bubble has burst. Those who had a financial safety net, savings, diversified investments, and manageable debt fared far better than those who were unprepared. The lesson is clear. In times of economic uncertainty, a strong financial safety net is your best defense. Start by boosting your savings. Think of it as your financial fortress against life's unexpected challenges. Experts suggest saving 3 to 6 months of living expenses, but given today's unpredictable climate, aiming for 9 to 12 months might be wiser. Alongside savings, consider diversifying your income streams, whether through a side hustle, investing in dividend-paying stocks, or renting out a spare room. Multiple income sources provide security, ensuring you're not left stranded if one dries up. And of course, tackle any high-interest debt, especially credit card balances, to free up more of your income for savings and investments. When it comes to investing, take a page from Warren Buffett's playbook. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. In uncertain times, staying the course with a long-term diversified investment strategy is often the best move. Diversification is your shield against market volatility. Spread your investments across stocks, bonds, real estate, and perhaps even a bit of gold to reduce risk. If you're already in the market, review your portfolio to ensure it aligns with your long-term goals, and consider reallocating to more stable, income-generating investments like dividend stocks or bonds. And always maintain liquidity. Having quick access to cash is crucial, so you're never forced to sell at a loss. Finally, smart spending and budgeting are key to navigating uncertain times. Before making big purchases, ask yourself if you can afford them, even if the economy takes a downturn. Living within your means is more important than ever. This might mean delaying major purchases or cutting back on non-essentials. Create a detailed budget to track your income and expenses and look for areas to trim. By tightening your belt now, you'll free up more resources for savings and investments. And don't forget to build an emergency fund specifically for true emergencies like job loss or major medical bills. With these strategies in place, you'll be better prepared to not just survive, but thrive, no matter what the economy throws your way. The road ahead. As we wrap up, let's consider a crucial question. What will you do when the next economic storm hits? History has shown that those who prepare, who take proactive steps to safeguard their finances, are the ones who weather the storms best. Whether it was the Great Depression, the 2008 financial crisis, or the economic upheaval from the COVID-19 pandemic, the lesson remains clear. Preparation and adaptability are your best defenses. Think of the old fable of the ant and the grasshopper. The ant worked diligently all summer, preparing for winter, while the grasshopper enjoyed the moment. When winter came, the ant thrived, and the grasshopper struggled. The same principle applies to our financial lives today. Those who prepare now will be better equipped to handle whatever comes next. In today's unpredictable economic landscape, we all face a choice. Take action now to secure your financial future, or hope that things will improve on their own. By building a strong financial safety net, making informed investment decisions, and planning for the long term, you can not only protect yourself from potential downturns, but also position yourself to seize opportunities that may arise. The challenges of high inflation, rising interest rates, and a volatile housing market are real. But with the right preparation, these obstacles can become stepping stones to future success. Your insights and experiences are valuable, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if today's discussion was helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest insights and strategies. Thank you for watching.